government's scrambling to deal with an increasingly serious computer hack today. It's CDOT once again. Employees there got an urgent all-caps message to get off their computers and turn them off. Shut them down, it said. CDOT says that ransomware virus that's holding its system hostage for Bitcoin has now mutated and attacked again. That before CDOT could even recover a quarter of its computers from the first round. Steve Steger looks at how this keeps getting worse.
In what has been a mess of zeros and ones, a different message today. This one in all capital letters. CDOT leaders writing to employees. Everyone off your computers. Shut them down. Physically turn off all computers. The message came as a hacker still holds CDOT's computers hostage, demanding Bitcoin. The virus is still in the system, and on Thursday it did something strange enough to prompt CDOT and IT to get involved.
The malicious activity keeps on changing and morphing.
That is Brandy Simmons. She represents the state's IT office, which is currently trying to clean off that ransomware without paying the person who put it there. She says the best news in all of this is that vital CDOT operations aren't on the network that was hit.
The Traffic Operations Center is up and running. It's internal systems at CDOT that are infected, the back office stuff like finance, HR.
Before today's new threat, CDOT had cleared 20% of the 2,000 computers hit by this virus. It's unclear whether they'll have to clear those machines again. For now, all of the computers are shut down and the internet is off. And for many CDOT employees, it's back to the basics.
They're back to pen and paper.
For Next, I'm Steve Steger.
The FBI and the CBI are investigating this ransomware attack. They won't tell us where they think it originated, whether it was in the U.S. or someplace foreign, and still no idea when CDOT's computers will be working again. You know, even by political standards, what Republicans in the state legislature are trying to pull is really something. They're simultaneously attacking Democrats for not moving quickly enough against a Democrat accused of serial sexual misconduct, while those same Republicans are likely to block that same Democrat's expulsion from the House. Brandon Ritteman picks things up from there.
You got multiple levels of problems in this process.
Republicans want more answers and more time to review the evidence against Steve Lebsack. They won't get it. House Speaker Crisanta Duran is either calling their bluff or going to lose this vote tomorrow to kick Lebsack out. Her message? What if this happened to a woman you love?
How would you feel? Don't you need a buddy? I need a buddy. Would you me? Your breasts look great in that dress.
Republicans hint the vote may fail if it happens tomorrow, but they won't promise that.
Well, I never said I was going to vote against it. In fact, I did write an op-ed where I did say that I believe the accusers. Right now, before I make a final decision, though, I want to be able to take in the entirety of the report.
For some, the vote may come down to what Lebsack and one of his accusers, Faith Winter, say before tomorrow's vote. For Next, I'm Brandon Ritteman.
So while Republicans appear to circle the wagons to keep Lebsack in the House, they're calling for a special committee to investigate how Democratic Speaker Duran and her leadership handled the original complaint against Lebsack 2 years ago. They're calling it a cover-up. We've been asking here why Lebsack was ever promoted to a committee chairmanship with power over the legislation of his accuser. In the state Senate, where 2 Republicans are facing sexual harassment allegations, GOP leaders there want to make it harder to expel a sitting legislator. Senate President Kevin Grantham said today that he wants the new standard to be a criminal conviction.
We have sexual harassment and workplace harassment policies, and we will continue to work forward on every complaint that is brought into this building against members through that process. Not everything will rise to the level of something that is tantamount to assault, but every single one of these that does, the district attorney should be involved in.
Okay, so to cut through this, Senate Republicans are essentially trying to remove basic sexual harassment from the list of reasons why a legislator could be kicked out of office. As the Denver District Attorney Beth McCann explained to us today, she can't charge someone with a crime for workplace sexual harassment. DA can file charges for sexual assault and unlawful sexual contact, but sexual harassment, not a crime in Colorado.
Workplace sexual harassment can be hitting on somebody when it's unwanted. That's not criminal. On the other hand, sexual contact, sexual violence, rape, that is criminal in nature. We're comparing apples and oranges.
Late this afternoon, Governor Hickenlooper let us know he does not endorse this idea to have the district attorney investigate before the legislature considers an expulsion. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock appears unlikely to face any real consequences for the sexually suggestive text messages that he sent to a police officer on his security detail. But let's look at how this might have been different if it had been any other Denver City employee who had sexually harassed a subordinate. There is a whole system set up to handle those incidents between employees. But the way that system works, even if somebody ever complains about Mayor Hancock's behavior, the city says the grievance would likely be denied outright, or just given to the mayor for his response. So let's bring in Jeremy Hohola from our investigative team. And Jeremy, I want you to tell me that any other city employee here would not have gotten in big trouble for what the mayor admits that he did.
Yeah, the system right now is designed to hold city employees accountable and not elected officials. The mayor is not going to fire himself. Voters may do that, but of course they have to wait until Election Day. The mayor is up next year, so let's break it down this way. If a regular city employee, like a guy who works at Public Works, did this to a subordinate, and if that person filed a sexual harassment complaint, there would be some options like mediation or a whole investigation. It could include interviews, supervisors would be involved, human resources could be there too. It would be a process. That could end with some consequences here, depending on the severity. That could be a scolding, or a written letter saying you did something bad, to suspension with docked pay, to full on, you're fired, you're gone. With the case of Hancock, the city's Human Resources Department tells us if someone files a complaint against the mayor, that complaint would likely be denied, as you said, Kyle, or sent to the mayor's office for a response. And that's essentially it. There's no recourse at City Hall. Not only at City Hall, but there's only recourse in the voting booth. This is typical of local governments like in Boulder. This is how it works in Boulder, but is that acceptable? It's up to the voters.
Yeah, people are going to have to ask that question, and then the added layer to that is, in a city where there's only one competitive party, is there any real check and balance on any elected official who's not subject to employment rules?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Jeremy, thank you. Hey, we are getting some feedback from people convinced that we are not covering Mayor Hancock's latest scandal. Holly Tynan wrote, "Thanks for covering the Mayor Hancock story. Oh, wait, you're not. Wonder nobody takes you seriously or watches you anymore." So it seems immodest to correct Holly about viewership and note that Next was Denver's most watched newscast in January. So let's instead talk about this idea that we have not been covering the sexual harassment allegations against the mayor. It was our lead story here on Tuesday, our second story last night, prominently covered again this evening. Now, listen, I don't fault anybody who's just too busy with life to keep up with what we cover here on the news. But Holly's email and some others suggest that there is some person or group out there telling people that we are not covering the story about the mayor. I get it. Claiming that we're ignoring the story is a really good way to gin up partisan outrage. But Holly, I would ask you this. If somebody is willing to tell you such an obvious lie, to manipulate your emotions with such an easily disproved falsehood, you might agree with them on politics, but it doesn't seem like they respect your intelligence. Remember the college coach yesterday who said he doesn't want Colorado kids on his team because they failed drug tests? Pardon me, I should say former college coach now. And we need to explain the closing alerts on our website this week. The ones about the rabies outbreak and the Sharknado, we'll do that next. Coors is not having President Trump's aluminum tariff announced today. Their reaction is cold enough to make the mountains turn blue. Miller Coors says the 10% tariff is going to cause job losses across the beer industry as aluminum prices rise. The president's steel and aluminum tariffs are likely to be quite popular with steel and aluminum workers, and less so with Americans who will pay more for things made out of steel and aluminum. A college baseball coach out of Texas, man, he was out faster than the Costco hawk. The guy who got caught saying that he would not take kids from Colorado on his team because they can't pass a drug test, well, he's now out of his job at Texas Wesleyan University. Coach Mike Jeffcoat told a recruit from Colorado that this student should blame liberal politicians for the team policy. Not sure who Jeff Coates blaming today.
I want to reiterate today that the comments Mike Jeffcoat made are in no way a reflection of our university or its values. We do not tolerate discrimination. We value inclusiveness. We value education, critical thinking, and supporting student athletes who are here for the love of the game.
Speaking of, Gavin Bell, the Cherokee Trail High School recruit who got the original email, he has been straight class on this since the beginning. He says that he only shared the email with some other people at school trying to figure out how he should respond. He swore he did not want this coach fired. We called Gavin up today.
It's just hard to see him go because maybe this was just a mistake in his life. And, I mean, one mistake, I mean, everybody makes mistakes. They're all human, right?
Somebody signed that kid to play baseball. Be a good citizen. Former coach Jeff Coates might have gotten bounced so quickly at Texas Wesleyan because he was already being investigated there, the school said, for another rules violation. They didn't offer specifics on that, but said that it didn't involve any discrimination claims. So 9news.com had a little malfunction yesterday. Want to be transparent about it. If you checked out our closing page, you would have seen that Sunnydale High School was closed for a mysterious rabies-like outbreak. Miami-Dade Elementary was closed for a Sharknado crisis. And Hogwarts Athletics was delayed in its Quidditch tournament by 2 hours. So here's the deal. Our parent company, Tegna, was doing some maintenance work. Somebody was putting in some placeholders for their own amusement, and they accidentally ended up on 9news.com and about 20 other websites. That's the story. Whoops.
That Sharknado crisis. We're going to have to follow up on that one. March 1st, a beautiful start to the day. The moon set from Dave Masters. Just stunning. This was taken up in the high country, of course, overlooking the blue skies and nice white-capped mountain peaks. Here we go. The month of March kicking off. It's looking pretty good. Temperatures, daytime highs, overnight lows. You average them out about 40 degrees. Precipitation, we get a lot. Fingers crossed for this month. About 9/10 in snowfall. You've heard it before, our snowiest month of the year, picking up more than 10 inches of snow. Tonight, already seeing some of that here in Colorado. You just got to hop over the mountains and go out to the western slope where some light snowfall is starting to pour in through Meeker into Grand Junction. A little bit of rain mixing through toward Montrose and the San Juans near Telluride. A couple of inches this week. Disturbance isn't going to last long, and then it moves out. Here in town, we're looking at mostly clear skies. An overnight low of about 27. The wind should be fairly quiet for us this evening. Comfortable for the eastern plains and down to the teens, low 20s up in the mountains. So this weak little storm, it's brief. By 11 o'clock, it's pretty much out of here. Clear skies overnight in Denver. Some sunshine to wake up to tomorrow. It's Friday. We're looking good, at least on the radar anyway. We will be tracking some very strong winds, and with that comes a huge warm up too. High pressure around us, but the winds, they will be really the biggest deal for tomorrow. High fire danger across the eastern side of the state with red flag warnings in place. Wind gusts up to 35 miles per hour will be possible out there. Enjoy the sunshine, but again, it comes at a cost with those stronger winds. Temperatures up to the upper 60s by tomorrow afternoon. 70s in Lamar, near Springfield at 67, 40s and even 50s up in the high country. 7-day getting even warmer for the start of the weekend. We're at 69, and then here comes that next storm system. The mountains will see a decent amount of powder on Sunday, good for skiers and boarders. Here in town, a quick flurry, a big cool off, some strong winds as we head toward early next week, but hey, the 60s, they're back by next week. Kyle?
We are surrounded by high pressure, Danielle.
Always.
I'm telling you, you and me both.
Always.
A story about a neighborhood in Denver before the developers started swinging the wrecking ball. Then our Corey Reppenhagen heads into Denver's sewers for a look at a system we've never seen before. You thought Steve Steger got the worst story assignments. That's next. You know what rolls downhill? Stormwater toward the South Platte River in Denver. The city says development over the years has interfered with the natural flow. So the city is starting its largest ever flood protection project. We have covered the controversy from neighbors who don't want this. Tonight, we want you to see another side of the story. The side our Corey Reppenhagen found underground.
We're going to go down inside. It helps to kind of go sideways.
We toured Denver's giant new storm drain, which is actually a 500-yard long, 12-foot by 15-foot concrete box culvert, just part of the Globeville Outflow Landing project.
Well, it's a big undertaking. This is probably the biggest project we've ever done, right? We're kind of recreating what should be a natural gulch with limited space.
We are going under the Coliseum parking lot right here.
This project will protect those historic neighborhoods around the Denver Coliseum like Elaria, Swansea, Cole, and Whittier. Denver Public Works says it will not only handle the routine storm water that often floods these areas, but also the big 100-year events.
It's those storms that are above an inch in an hour, 2 inches, 3 inches in an hour. Those are the ones that we don't have a system for, and those are the ones that this system's going to really do a good job for us.
The size and power of thunderstorms is often underestimated, and so too is storm runoff.
And not really thought of until you get those big events, and even a year or two later, people really don't remember those.
In this new project, the water will flow out of that culvert and into the open, where it'll flow through a new park and into the South Platte River just along the west end of the Denver Coliseum parking lot. A natural path restored.
We think about this project is going to help people when that rainstorm does come. Well, I can't tell you if it's next year or in 10 years or in 50 years, but it will come, and I'm going to be really proud of this project when I don't hear a lot of problems.
Meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen for Next.
Denver Public Works says that drain should be ready to take on storm water by this summer. Then they're going to build similar drains downstream in the years to come. Our frequent recommendation series is where I point you toward exceptional work that's being done by other outlets. But tonight I want to invite you to spend about 10 minutes with an exceptionally beautiful piece of photojournalism that came from within our own shop. It's shining a spotlight on what 5 Points was and what that neighborhood in Denver is becoming.
It's something to behold. It's something special.
Oh, it was magnificent. The good old days when 5 Points was 5 Points.
That is the smallest taste of just a really beautiful piece of work from our photojournalist Corky Scholl, who traces the history of 5 Points through the eyes and the words of some living legends. You won't hear anybody talking over this story. You'll just hear words of people in that neighborhood. They talk about development closing in and trying to keep the roots of Denver's music scene strong. You'll meet Charlie Burrell, legendary jazz musician known as the Jackie Robinson of classical music. This is my favorite story of the week. You can see it on 9news.com. Coming up here, a small parade, the most heartwarming thing we've seen today. And we will talk about one viewer's concern that I'm changing next. Let's spend our last moments here talking about the good ones, public servants doing the right thing daily, and they're almost all good ones. A bunch were honored yesterday at Brantner Elementary in Thornton. Students made a whole little celebration out of it. They had a flag parade, thank you breakfast, and a stack of handwritten cards waiting. Unrelated except in sentiment. Kids have been sending messages of thanks and appreciation to the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. Posters, artwork, letters, they now line the halls at that Sheriff's Office. Chief Steve Johnson tweeted out the photos today and wrote, quote, "You can't help but feel great when you walk the halls of our offices and see all the awesome notes of appreciation from our young citizens. Thank you for the inspiration." We finished with your feedback, and Linda Pendleton of Denver writes, "Thank goodness the tie is gone again for a while there. I thought you had gone all high class on us." Linda, I may go many places, off the rails, go away forever, but I promise you one thing that I will never, ever do is go high class on you. See you next time.